Good afternoon. My name is Don Donaldson, Martin County Administrator. Since we met yesterday, our field ops team and emergency services and sheriff's deputies have continued to work throughout the county to help our community partners. Representatives from our municipalities, the U.S. Coast Guard, Health Department, Martin County School District, public safety partners, including the City of Stewart Police Department, Sewell's Point, Florida Highway Patrol, and Martin County Sheriff's Office. We are working together to ensure our continuity of services to all residents. We are grateful for the support our community receives from our legislative delegation, and especially those in attendance with us today. We have Congressman Brian Mast, Representative Toby Overdorf, and Representative John Snyder helping us out today. We most appreciate their attendance. Tropical Storm Nicole has already caused damage to Martin County. Our low-lying areas and our community that are vulnerable are already seeing the effects from storm surge on top of the high tides, especially in MacArthur Boulevard and other areas including the Loxahatchee River, St. Lucie Estuary, and Indian River Lagoon. Martin County has some tide gauges that we have in the estuary. We're seeing elevations 3 at this time, and we expect during the storm tonight. Our high tides on the ocean are around 8 to 8:30. The high tides in the estuary are running around 11 o'clock in the St. Lucie and Indian River Lagoon, and in the Loxahatchee River around 10 o'clock. So at those points of time, please, we don't want you on the road during the storm, and we're expecting more damage to occur from this high water. The hurricane is likely to push the water levels higher than we've seen already. And so we do have homes that are below elevation 4 and expect to have house flooding due to this event. We want you to know that our field ops crews will continue to clear stormwater drains and address areas experiencing flooding due to the impact from debris. We have, due to the storm on Hudson Island, we already had to evacuate some areas due to damage caused by the waves overtopping the dunes and washing dune walkover structures and some other debris onto the roadway of MacArthur. Sailfish Point and MacArthur Boulevard residents have been advised. Those that have been evacuated in this area have already done so, and we've had to turn off water to that portion of the island to protect the infrastructure from further damage. We're continuing to work throughout the county. Our media partners are out in the field sharing critical information and resources, photos, videos, areas all along the Treasure Coast and beyond. We need to continue to do this work to stay safely in our homes, and please do not go out on the road unless absolutely necessary. It's very important that anybody that is prepared now to be in their homes. We expect the storm to continue to deteriorate from this point forward. And tomorrow morning, as soon as winds die down, we will be sending crews to clear the roads. So again, wait till we've had the chance to clear the roads, FP&L to restore power before you go out and venture out for your activities. It's best to stay in home. Give us time to repair from the storm before you enter the roads. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sally, who's going to talk about our sheltering. We do have a number of folks and our special needs shelters already in place. Sally?
Thanks, Don. I'm Sally Waite, Emergency Management Director for Martin County. And as Don said, although Nicole is still currently a tropical storm, we are experiencing significant impacts along our coast. Please take this seriously and be safe. If you are not already at a shelter and are planning to go to a shelter, please head there now. The weather is quickly deteriorating. We currently have 5 shelters open, including a special needs shelter, a pet-friendly shelter, and 3 general population shelters. Those shelters are located at Jensen Beach High School, Willoughby Learning Center, Port Salerno Elementary, Warfield Elementary, and Anderson Middle. As Don mentioned earlier, that we have many community partners in our EOC. One of those is FPL, and at this time, we have minimal outages in our community, but they stand ready to respond and restore services if needed. We want you to stay home and stay safe if you're not going to a shelter. We have all the information that you need right here in our EOC. You can find storm-related information on our website at martin.fl.us. And if you need to report a flooded road, please go to our website, martin.fl.us/MC flood. To receive information alerts, please register online at martin.fl.us/alertmartin. And you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter for more preparedness information. And finally, our staff at the Community Information Center is ready to answer all of your calls related to the storm. You can call them at 772-287-1652. And now I'm going to turn it over to Board Chair Doug Smith.
Sally, thank you very much. So here we are again. Yesterday, I think we did a pretty good job of kind of predicting where we would be relative to this storm. We are already seeing pretty much the timeline that we expected, and it's fulfilling what we expected it to do. So as Sally and Donna both said, if you were planning to do something, I would do it immediately. Now is the time to finish up what you have going on, and if you need to be out, please get it done as quickly as possible because weather conditions are definitely deteriorating. The one thing that gets a little difficult sometimes, we are still in a tropical storm, but we are right on the fringe of being a hurricane. And so sometimes people hear one thing and they think that it's a tropical storm, and that doesn't mean such a big deal to some folks. And when you're sitting right on the precipice of a hurricane and you're only talking 5-10 miles an hour difference, it's really not that big of a change. So think of this as preparing for a hurricane and dealing with a hurricane. We're already seeing, as others have already said, significant impacts both on our coastal areas and some of our inland areas. Sewell's Point is seeing a tremendous amount of flooding already. The island has seen overtopping of their dunes. So if you don't have to be in any of those areas, please do not. It just complicates our fire rescue, our sheriff's department's efforts in terms of what they have to do. And if you need to be in town, again, please get it done now, as we will certainly see things happening much quicker and much faster than where we are. The rain bands and the wind bands, as we see them, don't let those disarm you or don't let those be misleading. They come and they go, and that's why we'd really like to see you get to where you want to be and need to be. And again, if you can stay away from the coastal areas, please do. There's no reason really to be out in the middle of all this. With that, I'd like to turn it over to our chief. He'll give you a brief update on where we are with fire rescue. We'll turn it over following the chief to our state officials and our federal officials, and then our sheriff will close up at the end for us. Thank you all very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Chad Chanchuli, Fire Chief for Martin County Fire Rescue. So I'm just going to reiterate the message that has already been said at least 3 times so far. This is not the time to walk around in the county. It's not the time to drive around in the county just for sightseeing alone. This is the time that you need to shelter in place. Fire rescue and our partnership with law enforcement, we are currently mitigating calls right now in the county, and we will continue to mitigate those calls throughout the storm. What we're asking for you is your assistance to make us effective in our job. If you do not need to be out on the roads, please do not be out on the roads. Right now, we do have areas of the county that are flooded, and it's very difficult to actually get down some of these streets. We're able to do it, but it would be very, very unlikely for you to be able to do that. If you find yourself where you are on the street and you're going to an unknown area and the roadway seems a little bit different to you, pay attention to your street signs and pay attention to your mailboxes. If they look like they're underwater, that road is too deep. You shouldn't be in that position, but if you are, pay attention, do not go down that road, because then you will turn into an incident for us that we're going to have to respond to. So with that, I just want to encourage you, stay safe, please be patient, we'll all get through this, and then we'll learn from a lot of this as we move on into the future of the next storms. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our representative, Representative Mast.
Sure. Thank you all. Representative Brian Mast. Everybody that's here has a very specific lane to do, and everybody here takes that very seriously and does it very well. That's why I'm proud to work with all these individuals. My specific lane is the federal sphere. It is FEMA, it is Department of Homeland Security, it is Small Business Administration. A lot of those things are related to post-storm activities, things that have gone on pre-storm as an activity. There has been an authorization for FEMA to conduct community cleanup, not yet authorization for individual assistance. Those are two separate lanes as it relates to FEMA. I do sit on the FEMA subcommittee as a member of Congress in Washington, so it is a group that I'm very much in close communication with. But anything related to those agencies, FEMA, Department of Homeland Security, Small Business Administration, as the storm passes, you should certainly make sure to look at our website, mast.house.gov. We will have every form, every bit of information, every bit of contact that you could need for those agencies or to work through our office to communicate with those agencies if those are assistances that you need. And in that, I don't know if it's going to the sheriff next or John Snyder. John? Representative Snyder.
Thank you, Congressman. As the Congressman just mentioned, we all have our specific lanes as part of the state delegation. Unfortunately, we know that this is not our first rodeo and it's not our most recent rodeo. We've just come out as a state from the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, so we know that our emergency response teams are standing by. Governor DeSantis did issue the state of emergency for really all the counties here on the Treasure Coast on Monday. So my message is for those of you who have been in Florida, you know your plan, execute that. For those of you that are new to the state, reach out and find resources. There's plenty of information online. Don't be alarmed, but at the same time, stay safe and don't do anything that puts our first responders in jeopardy. Last thing I will say, as we do anticipate losing power in this storm, make sure for those of you that have your generator, get those outside, not just in the garage, but make sure that exhaust is pointing away from your home. The last thing that we want is someone trying to get a little bit of electricity and cause further tragedy. So with that, be safe and know that your state partners are standing by to support our local community however we can.
Thank you very much, John. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Representative Toby Overdorf, and I represent the other portion of Martin County that John does not. We are in constant contact with the Department of Emergency Management Services. They are standing by, as you are aware. Some of the things that I've seen today is the overwash coming over the dune and into MacArthur Boulevard. We've also seen North Sewells Point and South Sewells Point flooded. The lesson in this is that immediately, when you see flooding waters come in, it could rise incredibly quickly. In talking to my partners on the West Coast, they have seen areas where in 1 minute an area is dry and literally an hour later it is flooded to the point where you can't get past. So I would ask that if you have a concern about flooding in your area there, to go ahead and utilize one of the shelters, go ahead and utilize one of your friends' place and get out of that area there now so that we aren't looking at potentially a high water rescue at a later time. You know where you live, you know what the tendencies are for that, so be smart. Along the lines of losing power, if in fact there is a flooding event that happens, what we saw on the West Coast was that flooding event actually prevented power from being restored quickly. So so what I'd like you to do is be prepared. In other words, little things like charge your cell phone the whole way. If you have a backup battery, make sure that's charged as well. Small little things that can add to the convenience that allows you to have a little bit of a better experience during the storm. I know FPL is going to be working extremely hard. They are staged and ready to go ahead and deal with power outages. But all that being said, be prepared and also try not to put our first responders, as the other representative said, in any kind of harm's way. Thank you so much.
Representative Oberdorf, thank you. Thank you, Congressman Mast. You know, knowing that our federal and state partners are so willing and so able to come to our assistance is very comforting. I have direct contact with Governor DeSantis' office. I'm in constant contact with the Florida Sheriff's Association rapid response team. So in the unlikely event that we need more law enforcement here, I can just pick up the phone and we'll have what we need. My really only request now is our traffic people are struggling to keep the island open and trying to keep sightseers out. So if you don't live on Hutchinson Island and you don't live on Sailfish Point or Sewell's Point, this is not a good time to go sightseeing. It really causes a lot of stress for us. Right now, in the law enforcement arena, we're not getting a lot of calls. Martin County residents are doing what they always do. They're behaving, they're cooperating. We are a law-abiding community, a very thoughtful community. Continue looking out for your neighbors. Finally, as I said yesterday, our biggest takeaway from Hurricane Ian on the West Coast was that the sooner power is restored, the sooner law enforcement can start backing away. We lose power, we have to go out into the major intersections. Our alarms go off, they stop operating. And so it's a heavy burden on us. And because of that lesson that we learned, we have very good contact. Matter of fact, our FP&L people are working hand in glove with us. We will escort them from the interstate if there's widespread outages and they have to bring in extra resources. We'll find them places to stay. So you can take it from me. I live in a remoter part of the county, and if I lose electric, it's a week or two. So not only do I have a personal interest, but I'm very interested in all of your collective safety and convenience. So with that, if there's any questions for law enforcement, I'll be glad to take that now. If not, then whatever questions you have, I'm sure my good backups behind me will come forward.
Sheriff Dave Bowman, WPTV. I don't know if this is for you or for Don. The evacuations were voluntary instead of mandatory. In light of the fact that you had a number of places that are now seemingly impassable and maybe too late, and that point of no return is coming soon, why make it voluntary and not mandatory from the Zone A especially?
Sure, that's a good question. Why voluntary and not mandatory? And I'll let our county administrator answer that. The EOC makes that decision collectively. One thing I will say, though, thinking about mandatory and power outages, we haven't talked about any kind of curfew, and it's early. But I can assure you that if we have widespread power outages, we lose lights, we lose our alarm systems, we will have to think about what we call a thoughtful curfew, where we're able to keep people from outside coming in here that might do us harm, and also just to protect people. When it's dark and there's no electricity, it's not good. So we got one question holding for our county administrator. Are there any other law enforcement questions before I step away? County administrator?
Thank you. So in terms of the mandatory evacuation, we did look at that yesterday as it came to this morning, and we knew this was mostly at the time to be a wave and event. Sort of, we've had some big northeasters in the past, and as a tropical storm or even a strong tropical storms, the wind field across the bridges wasn't sufficient to say we would not be able to access the island. So we did not feel that the barrier island needed to be evacuated. And similarly, the estuary, we have an equal number of vulnerable locations due to storm surge. And it's a bit of a checkered pattern in terms of advising where you would have a, quote, mandatory evacuation. So we did not choose to do a mandatory evacuation. And then this morning, when the dune failed in front of some private residents on MacArthur Boulevard, at that point it did not lend itself to come and to do a mandatory evacuation for the entire barrier island. So what we did do is reach out individually to all the homes on MacArthur Boulevard and to Sailfish Point to advise them that they would not have access during the high tides. Certainly, probably about right now, you can drive MacArthur Boulevard, but the next high tide, it's going to dump more debris on there and make accessible difficult. So we did advise them. We did shut off water to a portion of the island, and each one of those were, again, individually addressed. We did have a number of folks from that area who we provided transportation to out of MacArthur Boulevard to sheltering or other locations. So the remainder of the barrier island has those that are in homes that are built to current standards, the wind field, and will be sufficient, and we will still be able to provide services to them during the storm.
that in mind, Steve King, WPBF 25 News, your specific message, and I could also open this up for anybody else who wants to speak to it, but your specific message to the people in these voluntary evacuation zones who chose to stay in and ride out the storm, what's your message to them at this time?
Well, my message to them is, I think as was stated earlier, those that know that you're in a low-lying area should have already left. I think if you were, we always have shelters open, and if you get scared now and you need to leave, we have places for you to come to. But we don't want people on the road evacuating during dangerous times when there's, as the wind increases or squall lines come in. So my message is you should be sheltering in place. You should be executing the plan that you have. But if you are in a low-lying area and thought that you were going to take the risk and ride it out, now's the time to get out of that. I think we are seeing a storm surge levels in effect that are greater than what we would normally see for a tropical storm or even a Category 1 hurricane. So the highest tides of the year, supplemented by this enormous wind field pushing water on the coast, and an oncoming, potential hurricane are going to add more water to it. And so if you're in a low-lying area, it is not going to get better. It's going to get significantly worse, and we're not going to be able to get to you till tomorrow morning sometime.
Does it surprise?
Sure, go ahead, Chair.
Along the lines of evacuations and whether it was mandatory or not, people have a lot of their own personal responsibility. Look, this should not be a shock. You live in South Florida. You live near the coast. You live in a low-lying area. Maybe you should think for yourself. But that being said, if you're stuck, we have your back. We're coming. I don't want to have to do it. But if you're stuck somewhere and can't get out, we've already taken 40 people off a bus trying to get back home into Sailfish Point. We loaded them onto our high water vehicles and put them safely at their house. So we can do first response with the fire department, fire rescue, and we can also move, really we can move an entire neighborhood. It would be time consuming, but nobody's getting left behind. Nobody's life is in jeopardy here because they stay behind. We will take care of you.
Any more questions? Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate you getting the message out helping us get the message out to our residents. And as the sheriff said, we will be here 24 hours to help anybody in need, no matter what their condition is. Thank you.